When crews first occupied the International Space Station in 2000, it marked the beginning of over 20 years of continual human residence in space. But NASA plans to retire and deorbit the station in the 2030s. The hope is that it will be replaced and then some.
We're going back to space to stay. We've proven that we can live in space for long periods on the International Space Station, and now we're pushing the envelope again.
A variety of companies are eager to join this new phase of space habitation, which holds promise for scientific breakthroughs.
It's really Sierra Space's mission to fill that gap, fill that void, have an opportunity to have a platform in space.
NASA contracted Sierra Space to develop a new generation of inflatable habitats designed and built to allow humans to live and work in space, as well as on the Moon and eventually on Mars. The habitat is called Life, for Large Integrated Flexible Environment. Today's engineering challenge is to destroy it.
We're at Marshall Space Flight Center. For today's event, we're doing what's called an ultimate burst test. We're gonna take this article and we're gonna pressurize it until it fails. Huge explosion, equal to 150 sticks of dynamite. It's gonna be epic.
They are in the exciting process of watching their program intentionally fail. They're in that learning mode where, they go out and say, we're gonna blow this thing up.
One unique feature of the Life habitat is that it can be compressed to fit into a single rocket's payload housing, and then inflated by a factor of 6 when deployed in space.
We have these goals of going to the Moon or going to Mars. A lot of focus is being there. Not everyone's thinking about actually living there. And so this is where we start to fill in those gaps.
The Life article is 300 cubic meters. We can put 3 floors inside this, have up to 6 people live inside this for months on months.
At the core of the Life habitat's technology are what are known as soft goods, flexible, immensely strong materials that can be tightly packed down and then inflated. The Life habitat is made up of 4 different layers, each with its own purpose, such as holding in air, providing insulation, and repelling dangerous micrometeorites, which can travel at tens of thousands of miles per hour and are common in outer space. But the most critical layer of the Life habitat is the restraint layer, or primary structural shell, which the company is testing here. The restraint layer is composed of hand-sewn pieces of fabric made of high-strength synthetic space-age material called Vectran.
Vectran is a chemically spun material made to be harder than steel. So it comes in a thread, and then that thread is woven into a strap. You could hang 7 cars on this strap, and that strap would never break.
Like so many modern technologies, at its core, the habitat and its Vectran webbing depend on age-old knowledge. In this case, on the art and science of making baskets out of plant fibers.
When you're designing structural systems, you don't start from scratch. And basket weaving has been around for thousands of years. But we've applied it so you can use it in space.
Today's test is crucial for assessing how the Life habitat manages the air pressure introduced in space. At sea level on Earth, the average air pressure is around 15 psi, pounds per square inch. That's the normal pressure that will fill the habitat. However, the structure has to withstand significantly higher pressures to prevent any risk of a disastrous explosion. That's where today's test comes in.
Humans are very squishy, and they don't play well outside of their own environment, being Earth. So when a new habitat is developed, a lot of intentionality goes into it so that the human body is not exposed to things like radiation, extreme temperatures, lack of oxygen, and anything that could be flying around out there in space.
The life habitat is following the NASA guidelines for operating pressure safety, which is a ×4 safety factor. So we have a 15.2 PSI operating pressure. We times that by 4, it gives us a 60.8.
To reach the desired pressure of 60.8 psi, the habitat will be connected to air pumps, regulated by valves controlling the flow of air. The team will monitor the habitat's inflation from a control room more than a quarter mile away.
We have sensors on the top and the bottom of the article, which are going to give us what we call strain data. All those thousands and thousands of data points, our analysts are going to take a look at it so we can validate on Earth how our modules operate, along with validating it in space.
Today's test will be the first ever of such a large inflatable structure. But the team has already done several smaller burst tests.
You want to build articles fast, test, get that data. Prior to this, we did 4 articles, which gave us that data to catapult us and give us the confidence to go into our first full-scale burst.
Central to the habitat concept by NASA and Sierra Space is the vision that multiple structures can be sent into space gradually and linked together like buildings along a city block.
Modularity is key to this concept. You have a modular design that you can configure any way you need to.
You're gonna have a medical facility, you're gonna have exercise, you're gonna have a place for people to live, to enjoy themselves in space.
As the team prepares for the evening's burst test, Beth Licavoli makes her final checks on the life habitat's vast array of wires and sensors.
We're pretty much looking ready for burst.
Safely watching from the control room, the team monitors the test in front of a dozen screens that will capture the burst.
So right now we're inside the test room and we're taking a look at what is happening on the screens and we're preparing everything for the test. Ring site's been closed down. Everything is good to go.
The habitat sits out under the lights at 1 psi, but that soon changes.
We are pressurizing to 15 psi for a 5-minute hold.
Oh, you can hear it. Yeah, go time.
Fill rate?
3.06 psi per minute. I'd
Yeah, the
expect
quarter.
that.
35 psi, 35 psi.
All right.
On the way to burst. Here we go. Let's do this.
But about half an hour into the test, something is going wrong. The flow of air has started to slow,
Slowing down.
but the team still hopes they can meet their goal.
Gotta hit
You can
61.
call it 61. Okay.
61.
This is where it gets dicey.
Hearing a little movement.
Come on. Any second now.
61 psi. 61 psi.
Well done! Fantastic.
Let's keep going
That
though.
is amazing.
They've reached NASA's target PSI, but the habitat is not filling as fast as expected.
Are we fighting it now?
Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh, yeah.
One potential explanation, a leak. That could be disastrous in space.
We still dropping?
Yeah.
About an hour into the test, they decide to end it, short of their ultimate goal.
You good with that?
ROV 311
Yes.
closed.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Close it, let it leak down.
The lack of an explosion is a major disappointment. Testing to failure is crucial to understanding the habitat's ability to withstand pressure. After the habitat is depressurized and safe, the team gathers to determine the source of the leak.
All those straps want to be aligned with the bottom of the plate. So there is nothing pushing on that bladder or doing anything. I would highly doubt that there's a leak right there. Okay.
There's an air of excitement, and then
Mixed.
there's air of like, I wanted a big burst.
Yeah,
You want to
mixed.
take it to that failure.
This valve seemed like our culprit. We overpressurized it.
As air pressure built up in the valve, it overcame the force of the spring holding it closed, allowing air to escape.
When we found out that it was the valve, a little bit of a sense of relief. Knowing that the design of the structure was very viable.
They decide to shut the problem valve off. Fortunately, The remaining working valve is still able to inflate the habitat. The following night, the group is back in the control room.
25 PSI, 25 PSI.
You got our fill rate?
2922
2922.
PSI per minute.
Ramp to burst. Oh, baby, just keep going. 55 PSI.
So better than last time.
55 PSI. 63 PSI, 63 PSI.
They've reached the same pressure as the failed test the night before,
Going to burst.
and it keeps rising.
70 PSI.
70 PSI.
75 PSI.
76 PSI.
This is insane. This is insane.
Yeah, I heard a little pop.
Well done, guys.
This was the first one that we could really feel the ground shake in this control room, which is incredible. To see it, to really be here, it's kind of surreal.
And now they know the habitat's limit, 77 PSI.
It was just an amazing moment. It's one of those things you don't forget in your career, and you always talk about it.